The shocking truth behind Apostle Philip's desert journey: was it the Holy Spirit's will? The burning sun bore down on the endless stretch of sand, where shadows danced eerily among the dunes. At that moment, the very air vibrated with mystery, as if the desert held its breath, waiting for something monumental to unfold. This was where the impossible happened, where whispers of the Holy Spirit filled the dusty air with a mixture of dread and anticipation. As the looming storm clouds gathered in the distance, Philip trudged on, his heart pounding like a war drum. Each step echoed his purpose, a mission unbeknownst to even his closest companions. His eyes darted around, catching fleeting glimpses of bizarre flickers. Ghostly figures flickered just beyond the periphery, a mirage, or something more? Were these spirits of lost prophets? They beckoned him forward, their forms distorting in the wavering heat, igniting a strange longing deep within him. Is this the path the Holy Spirit has laid out? He thought, fear gripping him. A chill raced down his spine as the oppressive silence wrapped around him, thick as fog. Philip felt an alien sensation, like eyes were watching from the rocky crags. He could swear he heard whispers sharing secrets that humanity just wasn't meant to know. The tightly coiled tension raised the hair on the back of his neck. Something was coming, something cosmic. As he crested a small hill, the scene ahead froze him in his tracks. A group of rugged travelers, their faces etched with despair, gathered around flickering flames. Their eyes looked hollow, haunted. What horror had driven them here, to this desolate stretch of nothingness? Philip's breath hitched. The questions piled up, a growing storm of urgency. How could their paths intertwine with his? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Just then, a piercing howl split the silence, cutting through the stillness like a knife. Philip's heart raced, the travelers jumped back in unison, fear flashing across their faces. What creature roamed this cursed land? As he stared into the darkness, he knew he had two choices: turn back and escape the grip of fate, or march onward into the unknown. He took a deep breath. He could feel the weight of destiny pulling him, a force too strong to resist. Was it the Holy Spirit guiding him? Or was it something more sinister? The fire danced wildly, casting ghost-like shadows as Philip stepped forward. In that moment, the desert's secrets beckoned, swirling with the promise of revelation. But would he be prepared for what was about to unfold? The very ground trembled beneath him, the winds howled a warning, and he knew the truth lay just beyond his grasp, waiting to shock him into enlightenment or despair. The air crackled with tension as Philip moved closer to the flickering fire. The travelers exchanged frightened, uncertain glances, their lips trembling as they searched for answers in one another's eyes. The flickers illuminated their gaunt faces and made the shadows seem alive, twisting and curling around them like ghostly fingers. What was that howl? One of the travelers finally asked, his voice breaking the fragile silence. Did you hear it? We thought we were the last souls out here. I've seen things, another man spoke, shuddering as if recalling a lingering nightmare. Hear me, friends. The winds are cursed. They carry the cries of the desolate, and the damned. Nothing here is as it appears. Philip felt the urgency of their words pressing against him. He took a step closer, determined to understand their plight. What horror haunts you? Why stay in such a dangerous place? A woman with dirt-streaked cheeks and haunted eyes spoke up. We were led here by visions, glimmers of hope that were nothing but tricks of the mind. You cannot trust the desert. It deceives you. Visions? Philip echoed, intrigued but wary. Could this be connected to the Holy Spirit's guidance? Suddenly, the howl returned, louder and closer. The group's collective fear exploded into chaos. They scrambled around in sheer panic, their eyes darting into the dark, searching for whatever nightmare had pursued them. Philip's heart raced alongside theirs. Stay calm. He shouted over the din, his own terror bubbling beneath a facade of reassurance. "We can face this together." But his words only ignited more anxiety. The shadows that once danced rhythmically now loomed ominously, the grim shapes twisting into the darkness. Then, in a flash, something emerged from the darkness. A creature, more shadow than form, lunged toward the group with an unnatural speed. It had fierce eyes that glowed a menacing red, cutting through the dark like knives. Philip barely had time to react. Adrenaline surged through him as he leaped in front of the travelers, instinctively adopting a protective stance. The creature paused, assessing him with a hunger that sent chills racing down Philip's spine. He felt a strange pull, an otherworldly connection to the beast. Almost as if their destinies were intertwined. Was this an agent of the Holy Spirit? Or a herald of destruction? "Back away!" Philip shouted, raising his hand defiantly. He could feel the weight of the universe pressing down on him. Was he about to face the wrath of an ancient curse? In the stillness that followed, time froze. The creature's breath, heavy and hot, filled the air as silence enveloped them like a shroud. Philip's mind raced. He recalled tales of supernatural entities, testing the faith of even the most devout. Would this be his moment of trial? Suddenly, the winds howled louder, swirling around them like a vortex, causing the fire to flicker violently. Among the chaos, a memory struck Philip, an ancient prophecy that warned of the desert's true calling. The words rang in his ears: the seeker must confront the darkness within, or be consumed by it. Could this be his reckoning? As the figure bore down on him, Philip faced his fear head-on, praying for guidance. The air shimmered, the desert alive with possibility and peril. What if the truth he sought lay not just in revelation, but in a sacrifice he had yet to imagine? With the creature thrusting forward, Philip felt the harsh reality of his choices encircling him. What was the destiny that awaited him and those who had sought refuge in his presence? Each heartbeat echoed the question: would he be ready once the dust settled? And as the shadows closed in, he realized the answers were as elusive as the night itself. Time hung like a suspended heartbeat, and every breath felt like a prayer. The creature loomed before Philip, its fiery eyes boring into him. Was it fear that twisted his gut, or something deeper, an ancient call he couldn't yet comprehend? He clenched his fists, the heat of the desert pressing against him as if urging him to act. "Face it," a voice cried out from within the group. A young man stepped forward, his bravado faltering as he stood shoulder to shoulder with Philip. "If we are to die here, let it not be without a fight." But could they really fight against something unknown? Philip turned briefly to the man, seeing the flicker of determination in his eyes. Encouragement surged through him. He sensed his own fear melting into something fiercer, resolve to shield those who placed their trust in him. Suddenly, the creature surged forward, its form a chaotic dance of shadow and fury. Philip felt the air swipe against his skin like a whip. Instinctively, he shouted, "Stand together!" The command rippled through the circle of travelers, positioning them as a united front against the darkness. In that moment, he could feel the surge of hope swell among them, a collective flame igniting. They linked arms, forming a barrier. Philip's heart raced, but not from fear. This was their chance. If that creature was the embodiment of despair, together they could turn that despair into courage. Then, the beast paused again. It sniffed the air, its molten gaze darting between the travelers. Philip seized the opportunity. "Why do you hunt us? What do you want?" he yelled, unsure if diplomacy could break through its savage facade. In response, the creature let out a deep growl that rattled the very bones of the earth. Philip stumbled back slightly, feeling the ground tremble beneath him. The winds howled in response, and shadows twisted into grotesque forms as the energy surged around them. The tension felt tangible, weighing down on Philip like a lead parachute. This creature wasn't merely a harbinger of doom, it was a reckoning. The ancient prophecy echoed in his mind. "I might have to confront the darkness within." A voice broke through the chaos again. The woman with dirt-streaked cheeks, her expression wrought with desperation, uttered, "If it's a battle it desires, perhaps we must confront our own fears." The idea landed like a stone in a pond, sending ripples across the group. Philip thought of his own self-doubt the moments he questioned his purpose. Were they to unearth the fears that bound them, he wondered? It was dangerous, but was it a path to salvation? As if reading his thoughts, the creature suddenly unleashed a bone-chilling roar, shaking the sands beneath them. Philip squared his shoulders, feeling the heat of battle clashing with a surge of faith. The feeling of unity among the travelers fortified him. They could not cower. His voice, firm yet beckoning, called out, "What if the answer to our plight lies not just in strife, but survival through self-discovery?" He watched as each pair of eyes flickered with the weight of their doubts. Would they join him in confronting their fears? Or would they fall victim to the very darkness that surrounded them? With a flick of its sharp claws, the creature advanced, but in that moment of raw vulnerability, Philip caught a breath of clarity. Perhaps the challenge they faced was as much within as without. He could feel the tightness in his chest beginning to ease, replaced with the weight of resolve. What truth lay in each of their hearts? Were they ready to strip away the layers of fear and regret? As the creature lunged once more, something stirred within him. Clarity. Courage. The battle was changing, the outcome uncertain, but one thing was clear: the journey had just begun, and the way forward was layered with choices that could either save or condemn them all. Together! He shouted, embracing the uncertainty as shadows danced around them. A new howl erupted from the creature, but this one was different. As it surged forward, Philip wondered, could it be that the path to salvation also lay in understanding the shadows that roamed within? And as the clash neared, the very fabric of their destinies began to unravel, an echo of transformation hanging in the air. What would they discover when the dust settled? The creature lunged, an embodiment of chaos that thundered into their circle. Philip's instincts kicked in. Now! Focus on your fears! He roared, an almost primal scream igniting a sense of urgency in the As they stood shoulder to shoulder, the discomfort skittered quickly away. Each traveler, now intertwined by the grip of shared strength, started to dig deep. Samantha, the woman with dirt-streaked cheeks, flinched as a vision of a childhood filled with neglect surfaced in her mind. Her breath hitched, but she whispered to herself, "You are stronger than this." Next to her, the young man, Nathan, contorted in anguish as he wrestled with a memory that screamed of abandonment, the weight of it nearly collapsing him. He gritted his teeth, murmuring, "Face your shadow." Philip felt the surge of their vulnerabilities collide like waves against a cliff. He closed his eyes and let the chaos slip away, focusing instead on his own hidden fears, the suffocating self-doubt that clouded his vision of potential. The creature's growls sounded muffled now, as if the world around them blurred in favor of the battle brewing within each soul. "Courage rises from ashes," Philip roared, and in that moment, a tide of collective strength surged through them. Together, a solitary thought emerged. What if their journey was never just about defeating this creature? What if it was about unearthing their hidden demons? Suddenly, the creature twisted, hurling itself back momentarily. It appeared confused, as if it had never faced such raw, unyielding energy from its prey before. As they continued to stand firm, shadows flickered against the grain of the desert sand, swirling ominously. It was then that the creature's eyes met Philip's, and a flash of recognition sparked. Here they were, unyielding against despair, illuminating the darkness. In a heartbeat that felt both endless and fleeting, Philip understood, this wasn't merely a beast to battle. It was a manifestation of their merged fears, a mirror reflecting their inner turmoil. A flicker of doubt crossed his mind. But could understanding offer more than just survival? He could feel the group's heartbeat sync with his, resolute, unwavering. The weight of their shared determination grew, pushing back against the creature's nefarious energy. "Face it together!" he shouted, and for the first time, the shadow beast recoiled. But then it struck again, this time in a blur of terrifying speed. Philip's heart thundered as the ground splintered under the creature's mass. He felt the collective gasp, a shared inhale of fear coursing through them all. "Remember your fears!" Samantha cried, with desperation tinged in her voice. And that moment crystallized truth locked within each of them. The creature drew closer, but as they stood their ground, Philip focused, knowing they needed to unveil the very essence of their pain rather than simply spitting back fear. "Embrace it!" he bellowed, his voice drowning out the chaos. The energy shifted. There, nestled in the core of each person, was a flicker of light igniting hope. The shadows thickened, and in the distance, a crack of thunder rang, the heavens seeming to respond to their plight. Just when it felt like their resolve would shatter, a burst of light erupted from the apex of their circle, an unexpected beacon amidst the turmoil. The creature hesitated, its fearsome form faltering as if something ancient shifted in the air. What is happening? Nathan gasped, eyes wide with shock. What's coming? Samantha whispered, glancing at Philip, her expression a blend of hope and trepidation, and there lay the question that would echo onward. With two worlds colliding and every heartbeat pulsing with uncertainty, could they harness the light rising inside them to face more than just darkness? As the creature recoiled, the desert air crackled like electricity, but in that wild moment, it seemed everything hung in the balance. Would they fold under the weight of their own revelations, or would they rise, transformed and united? And as brightness twisted through the shadows, the coming storm washed over them. What would emerge when the dawn finally broke? The air thickened, almost palpable, as the creature staggered back from the growing light. The ground trembled beneath their feet, mirroring the turmoil in their hearts. Shadows twisted and turned as if they were alive, slithering through the waking sand, hungry and restless. Stay strong, Philip urged, feeling the power of the group swell like an untamed storm. Each breath felt like a match struck against kindling, igniting the fire inside. He allowed himself to witness the depths of their fears collectively transforming into a burning resolve. Samantha held her breath, her vision sharpened as she stared into the creature's eyes. What was once a horrifying void now revealed the cracks beneath its fierce exterior. The realization hit her: this beast fed off fear, and now it was faltering. Look at it! Nathan yelled, a tremor of defiant triumph in his voice. It's scared of us. In that heartbeat, everything shifted. The darkness wasn't merely a blanket to shroud them, it was a veil that could be lifted, a challenge to conquer. The beast shrank back again, a desperate sneer curling its jagged maw. As the radiance from their circle intensified, raw energy erupted. It illuminated the barren landscape, painting their shadows on the canvas of the night. Philip felt something within him vibrate in rhythm with the pulsing light. Together! He commanded, rallying their spirits. This is our fight. But the creature wasn't finished yet. In a terrifying whirl, it lunged forward again, seizing the moment between heartbeat and breath. Philip barely had time to react. Its claws swiped through the air, inches away from Nathan, who ducked just in time. A gust of chaos swept the group, sending sand whipped around them like knives. Focus! Aim your fears at it! Philip shouted, locking eyes with Samantha and Nathan. Remember what fuels you. Show it your strength. Each traveler steadied their hearts, grounding themselves. Memories flooded their minds, their darkest moments now took on a different meaning. Samantha's childhood left her with scars, but it had shaped her resilience. Nathan held on to his sense of worth, the belief that he was deserving of love. Philip's self-doubt now felt like a weight he could cast aside, propelling him forward instead of holding him back. With a unified cry, they channeled their fears, morphing into blinding lights that shot towards the creature. The impact shook the desert, echoes of their collective voices ringing out like a clarion call against the darkness. The force was monumental, pushing back against the creature's malice. The shadows screamed, twisting amidst the brightness. For a brief moment, clarity flickered in the beast's eyes, a realization. It was losing. Don't relent, Philip urged, voice hoarse but filled with passion. Channel it. Let your fears become your power. Suddenly, an electric wave surged through the air, a crack of thunder that cleaved the night. The sky above began to shift. In the distance, clouds churned and darkened, battling against the glowing orb of their collective light. It was as if heaven itself was a witness to their struggle, but then, in a moment where everything felt infinitely tuned, a pulse of silence enveloped them. The creature stilled, seconds stretching vastly like the desert horizon. Philip and his companions shared a breath, sensing the significance. In that stillness, something shattered, an internal barrier crumbled within them. They felt vulnerability pierce at the walls they had built up, making way for a raw, untamed energy to surge through. What if this was more than just a fight? Samantha whispered. What if it's about awakening something deeper? The creature whirled, and in its chaos, there was something almost human, a flicker of desperation reflecting back at them. Can we save it? Nathan murmured, uncertainty creeping in, mixing with their burgeoning hope. As the desert howled with trepidation, the question lingered in the air. Would they confront not just the beast, but the very essence of what they feared? With a final, deep breath, they prepared to face what lay beyond the light uncertainty and a choice that could change everything. Would they let their fears morph into compassion, or would they strike against the shadow that mirrored their own vulnerabilities? The next moment loomed like a storm on the horizon, unfurling silently. The stillness shattered like glass. The creature let out a roar that seemed to pull the very fabric of reality apart. It echoed across the vast expanse of the desert, a sound full of anguish and rage that made their bones vibrate. Philip felt the heat in his chest surge, a warning that danger was still prowling close. "Stay together!" he yelled, but his voice barely rose above the beast's banshee wail. Shadows danced wildly around them, flickering like flame, as if the darkness was alive, desperate to snuff out their light. With its jagged wings unfurling, the creature reared back. It was larger than they had imagined, looming like a nightmare brought to life. Its eyes, once voids of terror, now seemed more like windows to a tortured soul. Samantha's heart raced. Could it be that they were feeling what the beast felt, too? Pain? Loss? Push harder. Nathan shouted, the defiance in his voice battling against the despair seeping into their group. He squared his shoulders, summoning the strength of the fears he had once shunned. "We can do this. It's not just an animal, we can understand it." The beast sparked an uneasy silence. It hovered, watching them, as if deliberating. The oppressive darkness didn't relent, it pressed down all around, an invisible weight thickening the air. Philip fought to remain resolute, wrestling with the swirling doubts. Was this the right path? "Think of your fears," he urged, the energy of their connection weaving tightly between them. "What brings you here? What drives you? Have no fear of its anger." The ground quaked again, but this time, it felt like an invitation rather than a threat. A glimmer of hope sparked in Samantha. She let her memories spill forth, dark silhouettes of childhood terror mixed with sparks of laughter and strength gained over years. Each moment, once painful, was now a badge she wore. "I am more than my fear," she proclaimed, her voice piercing through the gloom. "Together!" They cried once more, pushing feelings of compassion into a blinding beam that shot forth from their joined hands. The creature's scream transformed, a grating sound slowly morphing into a tormented howl that seemed to resonate with their own struggles. From the depths of its throat, they could sense a shifting, a change. It was as if layers of its malevolence peeled back, revealing something raw and vulnerable beneath. "Look!" Nathan gasped. "It's changing." For all its darkness, the beast was not merely a monster. Within its rage was a call for help, an echo of their own fears projected back at them. They were witnessing a transformation rippling through the creature's form. Philip felt his heart thump, blood roaring in his ears. This was a battle of understanding. Would they dare to show compassion where fear could easily rule? What if we embraced it? Samantha's voice barely rose above a whisper, the vulnerability hanging heavy in the air. What if we could break the cycle? The creature hesitated, then lunged forward, colliding with their light. Fear sliced through them all. Would this be their end? But as the darkness met the brightness, a new energy erupted. Sparks flew, illuminating their surroundings in a tapestry of shifting colors. Everything held its breath, suspended in conflict. In that moment, their resolve solidified. They were not defined by their fears, they were shaped by their choices. The question loomed larger than before: could they truly save the creature, or would they unleash something altogether unforeseen? Just then, a crack split the heavens, and a silvery flash broke through the night sky, drenching everything in otherworldly light. "Get ready!" Philip shouted, as the ground shook violently once more. With every heartbeat, energy pulsed, drawing them closer to a fate not yet written, a future swirling with possibility and peril. "Stay focused," they urged, heart rates surging with the adrenaline of the unknown. What would this grand climax reveal? The possibility of healing or deeper terror awaited just beyond the horizon. Because amid the chaos, an even greater truth began to unravel, one that could alter their very existence. What lay beneath that terrifying surface? Would it be salvation, or absolute destruction? The energy pulsed, like a tangible thing rising from the ground. It pulled at Philip, Samantha, and Nathan, stitching their fates together under the radiance of the silver light. "What is happening?" Nathan yelled, his voice strained, barely rising above the hum filling the air around them. The creature hesitated, that once terrifying silhouette now flickering like a candle in the wind, haunted eyes searching their faces. With each pulse of light, the beast became less of an unknown terror and more of a kindred spirit, a reflection of their own trials. Samantha stepped forward, drawing closer to it, heart thudding fiercely in her chest. "We can heal each other," she urged. "Whatever you faced, we can share it. We're not so different." The creature's wings trembled, and a shudder ran through the ground. Philip could almost feel its anguish, a cry for understanding, for release. It was a surge of emotions that bled through the air, heavy and raw. In that moment, the fear that had gripped them began to melt away, replaced by an emerging empathy. Suddenly, a blast of wind whipped around them, spiraling upwards, desperate to tear at their connection. "No!" Philip shouted, bracing himself. He could see the struggle written on the beast's form. It was fighting against something unseen, some deeper layer of pain. "Feel it. Let it through." Nathan grit his teeth, pushing back against the chaotic winds. He lifted his hands toward the creature, igniting the bond among them. "It's okay. You're not alone." The creature roared, a sound that shook the very foundation of the earth. Yet this roar held a different weight, one not solely of rage but a cry layered with unnumbered heartaches. The darkness that once coiled around them seemed to shrink, as if overshadowed by the beacon of their shared hopes and fears. Samantha stepped closer still, feeling the warmth of the ground beneath her. "Let it go," she whispered, as if coaxing a scared child. "Let us help you." As their hands were raised higher, the sky crackled in response, lightning fracturing the overwhelming darkness into shards of shimmering possibilities. The creature paused, and in that moment of stillness, Philip's gaze caught a glimpse of flicker of light behind the creature's eyes. A surge of recognition struck him. It wasn't just a beast, it was a vessel of all their darkest fears, their pasts, manifested. They were battling not only for each other but for the soul of this creature. "I see you," he breathed, his heart swelling. An understanding flowed between them, threading through their fears like a robust mind twisting around an iron trellis. But even as the understanding blossomed, the ground trembled violently again, snapping them from their moment of connection. Just behind the creature, the shadows began to gather, darker than before and thrumming with a palpable rage that felt almost alive. "They won't let go so easily," Nathan gasped, pointing. Figures emerged, cloaked in anger, faces twisted in a collective fury that brewed just within the edges of the lighting's reach. "Protect it!" Philip shouted, attempting to draw energy from his friends. The darkness pushed forward, a wave of sheer intent aimed at ripping apart their bond. "I won't let them take this from you!" Samantha screamed, voice breaking but unyielding. With the last ounce of strength, they pressed their energies together, creating a barrier of light against the encroaching darkness. But would it be enough? The confrontation was far from over. The creature trembled, caught between worlds, and as he looked into its eyes, Philip knew they stood on the brink of triumph or disaster. Heart racing, he wondered if they could truly save both the creature and themselves, or if they would all be consumed. Because beyond the unfolding chaos, a new, chilling question loomed: who were the shadows that sought to engulf them, and what did they truly want? The shadows closed in, thick and suffocating. They prowled around the creature in the trio, their caustic whispers slithering through the air, making it heavy with dread. Philip's heart hammered in his chest, a primal fear igniting within him that was hard to shake. "Stay together!" he shouted, fists clenched, eyes darting. The last thing they needed now was to fracture under pressure. Nathan nodded, determination washing over his face as the wind screamed past, howling like a trapped beast. "We can't give in!" Nathan shouted, trying to anchor the group. He felt the pulse of their shared energy, felt it swell and break like waves crashing only to retreat again. "Remember why we're here." The creature trembled before them, an echo of their own trials. Its wings extended wide, fluttering against the winds that clawed at it. There, behind the creature's eyes, the shadows rippled, distorting its form. Was it a reflection of their turmoil, or something sinister lurking just beneath? Samantha clung to that thought: it's us, not just it. The recognition swelled, threatening to break her focus. She fought through the chaos. What if the shadows are just our fears personified? She yelled. What if they feed on our doubt? Then we face them. Philip roared. He could feel the heat of their bond, radiant and steady. We can confront them together. We won't let them divide us. The ground shook violently again, and the shadows lunged. Phantom hands reached out, twisting and turning like tendrils of black smoke. Fear gripped Philip's heart as they darted towards Nathan, aiming to rip him away. No! Philip yelled, stepping forward, stretching his arm like a lifeline. But the shadows were too quick. They wrapped around Nathan, pulling him into the depths of their darkness. The air turned frigid, and with it went the hope in his eyes. Help! Nathan cried, the sound raw and terrified, his body writhing against the unseen grip. Hold on, Nathan. We're coming! Samantha screamed, surging forward. There was no time to waste. They had to act fast. The creature, still trembling, let out another booming cry that echoed through the dark, shaking the earth beneath them. The shadows faltered, momentarily unsettled by the sound. It was a call for aid that rattled the core of their beings. Philip planted his feet squarely and summoned every ounce of strength. Together! On 3. He counted, adrenaline surging. 1, 2, 3. They shouted the word light. In unison, unleashing the energy they had gathered, bright and unyielding. The light erupted from their palms, weaving through the air like threads of gold. But the darkness wasn't done. It recoiled momentarily, but then it surged forward again, relentless and furious. They could feel its anger, bitter and raw, mingling with their own, igniting the air like wildfire. No! We can't let it win! Samantha cried, her resolve hardening. They had come too far, fought too hard to let the shadows snatch away their hopes. The veils of darkness pulled Nathan deeper, the shadows clawing at his spirit. Suddenly, a haunting whisper came from within. You are unworthy, it hissed. You're nothing but fear. Nathan's eyes widened, a lump of ice forming in his throat. I am more than my fears. He shouted back at the shadows. I am more. And as they fought to save their friend, the creature began to glow, infusing them with strength. Its form shimmered, and for the first time, they saw it not just as an embodiment of terror but a beacon of hope, entwined with their destinies. But the ground shook one last time, and just as the light surged, a deceptive figure stepped from the shadows, a cloaked figure with glistening eyes, a smirk crawling across its lips. You think this is something you can conquer? It taunted. You know nothing of true darkness. With a dread settling deep in the pit of his stomach, Philip realized the confrontation was only beginning. An uneasy sense of foreboding washed over him, and just beyond the light, he knew they were teetering on the edge of revelation. What secrets could this figure unveil, and how much more darkness lay ahead as they fought for their freedom? The cloaked figure stepped closer, its smirk widening as if savoring the fear radiating from the trio. Philip felt the weight of its gaze pierce through him, dragging up all the uncertainties that had lurked in the corners of his mind. What do you want? He demanded, trying to sound brave even as the shadows slipped around him like a living entity. You seek to defeat your fears, but what if those fears are the very essence of your being? The figure's voice slithered through the air, smooth and menacing. What do you mean? Nathan gasped, the shadows still twisting around him. The struggle had drawn the adrenaline from their veins, leaving them weak, vulnerable. The figure chuckled, a hollow sound that echoed in the still night. You think the shadows are your enemy? They are your truth, your past. They are you. Suddenly, the shadows around Nathan grew bolder, swirling and billowing around him until his form began to blur against the oppressive darkness. You're wrong! He shouted, desperation clawing at his throat. I'm not defined by my fears. The figure shrugged, a sinister grace in its movements. But you should embrace them, Nathan. Weakness makes for beautiful strength. Philip's heart thirsted for clarity. No! We're more than just our pain. He yelled, unable to reconcile the twisting logic of their adversary. They couldn't let fear and hopelessness drag them further down. We're stronger together. As if responding to his call, the creature that had found its voice began to glow even brighter, illuminating the surroundings with a warm, golden hue. Beneath its aura, Philip could see flashes of the shadows wafting from Nathan, revealing fragmented memories, fears that seemed alien yet painfully familiar. Doubt, regret, longing, each a thread that weaves your essence, the figure taunted, savoring their visible fight against the drawn memories. Samantha's hand shook as she tried to reach out to Nathan, but the shadows began to dance, ensnaring her too, exposing fears she had buried deep. "Stop! You don't own us!" Samantha screamed, her voice cracking with emotion. But the figure merely grinned wider, feeding off their turmoil. "Yet here you stand, chained by worries of inadequacy, insecurity shackling tight. You can't escape who you are." In that moment of despair, a flicker of awareness sparked within Nathan. "Wait. You're wrong. Our fears don't define us." His voice cut through the din, gaining strength, bolstered by the brightness of the creature. "They're just moments. They don't have power unless we give it to them." "Power." The figure echoed slowly, as if tasting the word. The shadows hesitated, thickening like fog, caught between struggle and stillness. "Yes. We're not just what we fear. We are our choices, our actions." Nathan's conviction spread like wildfire. As he fought, many shadows recoiled like animals sensing danger. "Do you think that's enough?" The figure's voice turned icy, solidifying its looming figure in place. "Then let me show you true darkness." With a swift motion, it unleashed a torrent of shadows, swirling like a storm as they screamed and shrieked, a cacophony of anguish that slammed against their ears. Philip staggered but held out his hands, summoning every ounce of light he could muster. The creature acted with him, a pulse of raw energy radiating outward, but the darkness pressed hard, each wave threatening to drown them in despair. "We can't hold it back alone," Samantha shouted, fear gripping her heart. "Together!" Philip shouted, feeling a flicker of hope ignite within them, the warmth of reassurance as they joined hands. They needed each other, each spark could drive the shadows away. Shadows lurked like a ravenous predator while their bond shone light amidst the chaos. As brightness surged, the shadows screamed louder, caught in the crossfire of their unyielding spirit. Suddenly, a heavy silence fell over them, a moment charged with electric anticipation. What would break first? Their bond, or the shadows that threatened to consume them? A crack had formed, and beyond it lay salvation or annihilation. Could they truly rise above what haunted them, or was this just the beginning of a greater darkness? Philip stood tall among his companions, the pulsating darkness swirling around them, trying to break their resolve. He felt raw energy coursing through their tightly interconnected hands, a lifeline binding their fates in the face of the looming shadows. "We are not them," he shouted, centering himself among the rising tide of fear. "We are warriors of light." With that declaration, the air seemed to shimmer. The shadows flickered, wavering in an almost hesitant response to their rallying spirit. Samantha's brow furrowed as she drew from her past experiences, equipping herself with the strength found in her scars. "We don't fear you," she screamed, her voice defining strength against uncertainty. Nathan, remembering the warmth of treasured moments from his life, echoed her cry, "No more." Each memory illuminated a path through the darkness, banishing barriers that sought to hold them back. Shimmering light erupted from their joined hands, spilling across the sand, rolling like waves against the oncoming storm. The cloaked figure, once so imposing, hesitated, its smirk faltering. The hiss of the shadows grew softer, as if sensing the truth embedded deep within the travelers' hearts. They had brought forth the light that illuminated their vulnerabilities without shame, a testament to understanding rather than defeat. "Look! We can shift the tides," Philip called out, urgency in his voice. "Our fears don't shape us, they refine us." The connection surged stronger among the group, stoking the fire of their unified purpose. The shadows coiled tighter, yet they felt increasingly volatile, trembling like a creature unsure whether to run or attack. As if sensing the shift, the creature roared, lending its energy, its pain pouring together with the trio's strength. This beast was more than a foe, it was a reflection of all that had been suppressed, crying for validation and solace. "You want to be free," Philip addressed the creature, channeling empathy into resolute conviction. "Let us in. Let us help you." Its fiery eyes shimmered, shadows twisting as it laid bare its fear, the chaos that had become its existence. In that moment, they saw the struggles of the lost one, the darkness wrapping tightly around the horrid remnants of despair. "Embrace the light," Samantha cried, feeling warmth rushing in like a flood. They tightened their grip and released beams that traced a path through the dark. With every ounce of their hearts and souls, they fought not just for themselves but for the creature too. The shadows writhed with fury, lashing out, but for every fearful blow, their light fought back exponentially stronger. "We are our choices," Nathan shouted. "Stop denying your truth." The shroud of darkness shrieked and began to pull away, relinquishing its grip. Each wretched howling dissipated into the air, now filled with the echo of healing harmonies. Philip could feel the energy shift profoundly, the darkness crumbling into echoes of acceptance and understanding, a reconciliation blossoming before his very eyes. Then, in an instant, the cloaked figure shattered, reduced to flecks of shadow dissolving into twilight. The creature staggered, the transformation erupting into a stunning whirl of light. It flickered, pulsing in gratitude as if reaching for the very depths of its soul, a testament to regenerative acceptance. Can we truly save you?" Samantha asked breathlessly, eyes wide in disbelief at witnessing true change unfurling. "Yes," the now radiant creature responded, its voice layered with centuries of anguish transforming into relief. "You have shown me how to heal by embracing fear, by standing alongside each other." The ground around them vibrated with newfound power, a connection sprouting like roots deep into the soul of the earth. As each shadow melded into the light, they turned golden, reflecting the purity of the self-acceptance they unlocked with their ties. Philip felt the joy bubble within him, and the world around them shone in radiant hues of hope, bathing the unforgiving desert in a soft warmth. In that moment, the skies parted, revealing a glimmer of dawn casting its golden rays upon them. The creature, once a harbinger of despair, now stood as a guardian of their light. They had faced their own shadows and come out victorious, not merely for their survival but unified and transformative. "We're free," Nathan whispered, realization dawning with every inhale, every heartbeat echoing harmony. "Yes," Philip echoed, heart swelling. "Together." They turned to navigate back through the desert, this journey forever etched in their hearts, a testament to resilience, understanding, and the unbreakable bonds they had forged. And as the sun crested the horizon, flooding the world with its light, a sense of peace enveloped them, carrying with it the echoes of who they had become. Only together had they reconciled the shadows, surrendering to the truth buried deep within each dark moment, a lesson toward brighter tomorrows. But now, as they walked onward, the whispers of the Holy Spirit wove through the golden sunbeams, promising more journeys ahead as each step solidified their bond. Before you go, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe right now to ensure you don't miss our next thrilling adventure. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and ensure these stories continue to flourish. I want to hear from you. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about this ending. And do not wait even one more second to share this incredible conclusion with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support means everything, and together we can keep the light shining bright.